All right, what's up, everybody? This is the first Friday of 2025. This is the first video in the Mortgage Coach slash Trust Engine community of 2025. And I don't know about everybody else on this, but I'm pretty fired up about 2025. I feel like I have personally come into the year well rested, done all my planning protocols, uh, kind of know what I loved most about last year, know some things I want to improve personally about last year, and just feel more focused than ever. So I would love for people in comments, just tell me on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being I am ready for 2025. Let us know where you're at. Scale of 1 to 5, and 0 is you are completely not ready. Hopefully, we don't have any zeros. Hopefully, we have a bunch of fives. Also, we're going to try to have as interactive a session as possible. So put questions in chat. We got some threes, we got some fives. We come on, 3.5, Don. 3.5.
Yeah, you got to
Uh,
add the half.
yeah, yeah. But no shame, Don. Thank you for sharing where
That's a
you're
real
at,
number then. I
being
mean, that's someone
candid.
who's given some thought to it.
Yeah, no doubt. Keep them coming, guys. All right. Todd, anything you want to say to frame the call and welcome the year before we get started?
Well, you know what? I mean, this group, when you and I started it 8-ish years ago, Dave, I mean, it was all around interviewing top producers out in the market. And, we've really had the privilege over that time to interview influencers and authors and coaches. And, it's fun to start off 2025 at our roots, having someone who's a producing manager who's doing some really cool things out in the world. We share a coach in Jonathan Roach. So I'm excited to hear what's going on. But as always, it's good to see our co-hostess with the mostest, Deborah Bird. Hello, ma'am.
I feel like it's been a while since the three of us have been on one of these calls. So I'm glad that we're starting 2025 with all of us together. And it happens to be the year of the snake for any of you who follow the Chinese New Year. And so the snake that I'm going to choose is the Mamba mentality snake. So the black snake, black Mamba, and just be, you know, pleasantly aggressive, like Shayla Gifford would say.
Yeah, I think that's also the most dangerous snake on planet Earth, but let's go.
Killer.
Yeah,
Just a
they are.
killer.
They
Yep.
are. They are tough. So guys. So today, to kick it off, we have someone who was introduced to this community by Jonathan Roach. He said, "Dave, you've got to know Bill Murphy. You've got to have him on your show. He's got just an incredible story, an important message." And I'm just like, "Let's go." So I am just getting to know Bill. I did find out that him and his team use Mortgage Coach. So I was like, Bill, I was gonna invite you to the show even if you didn't have used Mortgage Coach, but I was because Jonathan said. But that was great. He is a producing manager, and I always say the producing managers are the most valuable people in the mortgage industry because that's where change takes place is locally. So that's cool. And then he is someone that is an absolute leader. I mean, if you follow this guy on social media and after today's call, I think it'll be clear he's bringing leadership to his team. He's bringing leaderships to realtors, and really he's bringing real leadership to the country. I think you clearly have a passion for that, Bill. The theme is the seven mindsets or the seven mindsets for 2025. So, Bill, tell a little bit about your story, what you're doing, and then let's get into these seven mindsets.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Really honored to be here. Kick off the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. Um, yeah, I've been in the mortgage business 27 years, um, and it's been a journey for sure. And I've been at Fairway for 17 plus years, and it's incredible culture, and definitely experienced some of the adversity. And there was some incredible stats. I was on a national sales call yesterday, Dave, and I didn't realize this, and it hit me, and I wanted to share this today because I think it's important as we start the new year. So those that are on here and that listen to the recording, to still be in this business, thumbs up, because in in the last 5 years, I think it was 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25. We 5 years ago had 420,000 loan officers. In 2000, and I think it's 2021, 22, 23. 21, we had 395,000 loan officers. 22, 343,000 loan officers. And is that 23? 24 was 150,000 loan officers. And do you know how many started this year, licensed loan officers, and that includes LOAs?
How many? It's
Oh
less than
my
100, like 90 something.
93,000.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
if you're on this call right now, kudos to you for being in this business. But now the question that I want to ask is, we're all here. I mean, did we survive or did we thrive? Dave, I listened to your masterminds, and you have some really incredible people and top producers on here, and you have a lot of people thriving. So there is a formula no matter what the market is. And so no excuses. And there's people that are surviving. And I was probably in that survival boat for a couple of years too, trying to maintain my team, trying to keep people employed, not making incredible business, the right business decisions, because I said if I keep people employed, there's loyalty, there's things that I thought I was doing morally speaking, but yet it was costing me. So um, it's been a rough the last couple of years, and lost a little bit of the passion. But over the years, one of the things I started to do, it was back in 2019, I started creating these goals. And I would create a goal every year, and I'd call it a monster goal. And now, if you listen to Jesse Itzler, he calls his monster goal version Misogi Challenge. It's a life-defining moment that will arise from a meaningful pursuit of a goal. So once for 10 years as a producing branch manager, I was stuck in this between the 60 to 70 million range. 10 years in a row, you can look at my numbers. They're verifiable. They were between 60 and 70 million, which is pretty good, right? I mean, for up until 2019, those were pretty good numbers. Those were considered, a very good producer. And the problem is I wasn't happy with myself because I felt stuck. It was, if you ever listen to Steve Marshall, he called it the glass ceiling and complexity you couldn't break through. So what I started to do is I started to set goals beyond myself that year. And what I mean by that is not just the goal for me to hit a certain number. Like my goal every year was to break 70 million, break that 69 million every single year for 10 years. And so when I started to create different goals, now it started becoming charitable. Now I wanna do some charities, and I want to do this other stuff where I started running marathons for charity. I started doing some endurance races. I started doing a lot of things where I could do something beyond myself. And I always white knuckled these goals. Like, I got to break 70 million, got to break 70 million, got to break 70 million. And when I finally my subconscious knew what I wanted, because I've been writing goals down my whole life through all the coaches I've had many years, going back to the Todd Duncans and the Building Champions and the Bill Harts. And, we all know these great people, but my subconscious knew I had to break this. So I had to let go. And when I finally started doing other things, like working on charitable events and working on the greater good impact type of things, my business soared that year in 2019 because I created a monster goal. So the first goal was the Boston Marathon for charity. And I hit that. And then I did another endurance goal. I said, I was kind of upset with myself in my training. And I was like, you know what? There's there's more that we can do. And I wanted to understand what an Ironman did. And it's basically you run the marathon after you've done a 2.4 mile swim and a 112-mile bike ride. And I was like, is that even physically impossible? Like, I thought people were super freaky human athletes and human beings that did these types of things. But I declared that I was going to do this because I said, you know what, I'm setting things beyond myself. We're doing more stuff for charity. I did that for the Ironman Foundation. And that year, so the Boston Marathon's in April, and that year in November, I did my Ironman. I finished that year at over $80 million because I finally let go of, pressing down so hard on my goals. My goals knew they needed to be done. And then the cool thing that happened after that year, when I kept setting goals beyond myself, was that I went from 80 million to 112 million to 132 million. Like I increased every year. Now then after, we had some nice interest rates during that time, but, I came back down since then. This past year was 42 million, as I said. But, I was able to exceed it 3 years in a row. That wasn't by accident. That was because I finally let go of just pressing so hard. So like, if you're stuck in a rut and you go do something beyond yourself, that's where the magic can happen. Like attach a goal that's greater than you. So this past year, we just ran 7 marathons. We just finished in November, 7 marathons, 7 continents in 7 days. I didn't think I was physically worthy of taking on such an event, but I partnered with Make-A-Wish, and we called it Running the World for Wishes. And the only reason that I did all those marathons and I was able to finish it, I mean, we started in Antarctica, it was pretty crazy, but the only reason I was able to do that is because I knew that there's no reason for me not to keep putting one foot in front of the other. If you look at it that way, when you're running for kids with a critical illness that have no choice but to fight. So when you attach that why, that purpose beyond yourself, you build in that accountability to get it done. So when we approach this year, can you look back on 2024? Did you have a life-defining moment? Did you have a major monster goal that you accomplished? And so often we don't have those goals accomplished, and we look back years past and we don't hit those goals. Now you definitely have a lot of people that thrive every year and they are doing those things, but let's look at why we're not able to do that. And we want to build up that accountability. We want to build up those tools in the tool belt so you can get through this year and just hit it out of the park with what you set for yourself if you haven't done anything extraordinary that you want to hit.
Wow. 7 marathons, 7 continents in 7 days. I got a lot to unpack. Yeah, guys, let's give him a little reaction there. That's like crazy. Todd, any questions you have or anything you want to call out that was just said? And then we'll come to you, Deborah. And then I definitely have a few things I want to call out.
Well, I mean, there was so much there to unpack, but I always, you talk about that ceiling of complexity, right? And so, I do think that, you started off with, hey, there's only 93,000 of us left in this business, right? I mean, that's 25%, less than 25% of what was here 5 years ago. And I feel like there's so many people this past couple of years who, their ceiling of complexity keeps coming down. I think it's in their mindset. They're kind of stuck in this piece. And so obviously as someone who's really focused on, breaking through and doing some pretty hard things, I mean, what do you feel like the top, 1 or 2 things that an LO should be focusing on as we head here in January of 2025 to break through, if their number's 20 million or even if it's 10 million, like to get to that next level?
The routines. It starts with winning habits and winning routines. Look at your routines every single day. Todd, it's better than anybody, win by noon, right? Like this stuff. You're asking the question that you live by. So if you don't create that routine every single day, then you're going to have a hard time dealing with the stress that comes your way throughout the day. So I call it building your fortress. Build your fortress every single day with that winning routine. So, but like bookending is very important as well, because like if you set yourself up at the end of the day, with no TV, no scrolling, no anything, no junk or garbage that you're putting in your mind, you have your day set up for the following day, then you start off as you need to, and you're not playing catch up. So I think bookending your day with the winning habits, winning routines. But what I will say about routines, now let's just put this in perspective about setting up for those that wanna crush it this year. If let's just use the gym analogy, right? So we get somebody that is going to the gym and they're seeing this progress, and they're walking on the treadmill 20 minutes, and they're doing some weights for a few minutes, and they're losing 5 pounds the first week, 5 pounds the second week. They have this incredible goal of losing all this weight and getting in shape. Week 3 hits and they stop losing weight. They're plateauing. They're not gaining anything. The next week they gain a pound. They still do the same thing, because their body gets used to it. You get complacent. So what they need to do is start to ramp up that routine. So like I say, shock your routine while you're in the midst of growing. So great, you started the program, but now what do you need to continue to build and grow? And that's by shocking it. Maybe you gotta walk a little faster, lift a little higher, have a little bit more intensity, have little bit more intention on how you go about doing things. So like being super focused and hyper vigilant on what your intentions are will help you grow instead of going through the motions, and that's where the plateau happens and we give up.
I have a question for you, Bill.
Sure.
How do you, or what would you say to the LO who has their plan, they know the routine of what they're supposed to do, and let's just say and it could be an agent or an LO, and it's an hour a day at minimum of prospecting. They know who they're supposed to call, they have a list, and they know what they want. They have their goals identified for the year, but they just don't do what they know they must do to be successful. Do you have any tips or strategies just from your own coaching of LOs and speaking? And I see you're an author of a book. How do you help those who know what they need to do and they don't do it?
So they're not making the calls at all. Are they making the calls, but they're coasting, or they're going through the motions?
They have every intention, but they get busy being busy, and emails and fires, and then they don't ever end up, like a whole week goes by, and then it's 2 weeks, and then it's 3 weeks, and it's like, oh, I know I need to probably make those calls, but then I don't know what to say, or I'm worried about this objection that could come up because I hear other people talk about it, but yet I've never made a call. So how do I even know it? So I feel like there's a lot of producing branch managers that have these conversations with their LOs of just, we have the plan, now you got to work the plan, and you got to work the plan consistently.
I would say it's very much fear-based. And so this is great because we hear this all the time, and this is kind of where we swim in mediocrity a lot, is I'm busy being busy fighting fires. That, you know what, that crisis, that underappraised value will be there in an hour after you finish prospecting. You can go look at that in an hour. You can ask your processor or your loan officer assistant, or even if it's yourself, get somebody, say, listen, in an hour, I'm prospecting right now. In an hour, I'll get back to you on this underappraised value, or this title issue, or this angry agent, or whatever. That angry agent will be there in an hour. You can handle that, or ask somebody to make the call and just say, hey, I'm in a meeting. So it's the discipline. How badly do you want it? And if you know that that's gonna get you to your goal, then you need to do it and not build in the convenient. We make the excuses because it's easy and convenient, and it sounds like, hey, I was there for 8 hours. I put the work in, but did they really? They didn't make the calls. So they waited for their conditions to change when you got to go make your own conditions change.
Love that. Thank you.
So I want to call out something that went through my mind when I heard you tell your story, and I just think about everything that you're doing, Bill, because it's also a little similar, different. I mean, I turned 60 last year, and I did a lot of self-assessment, and I've personally never been more fired up about what I do because I have a why beyond my transactional goals. And when I heard you tell your story, like, hey, I'd hit this ceiling. And it wasn't until you got a why, like an impact why. And for you, it was Make-A-Wish. You connected with that. It was you, not just how do I close more loans and talk to more people, but how do I be a better, healthier human being? And that put you on this fitness journey or this health journey that you're on. But I almost feel like to have sustainable success and passion and focus, it's about having a why beyond your transactional goals, right? Like, I think that's so important. So one, I want everyone who's listening to this, whether you're listening to the recording or you're live, like, what is your why? That impact is creating remarkable change for other people. For me, First Home IQ has become that mission and that why to change financial literacy in America, to get to the youth of America. And by the way, with Bill, he's got this incredible impact why, but it's also income. Like what he's doing is building his brand with realtors. In a minute, he's going to walk through these 7 mindset shifts, which is leadership for realtors. So he's like creating impact, and he's doing it in a way that I bet is creating income, like impact and income. Bill, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, if you create the why beyond yourself, now you can't use the excuse that it was too much or it was too hard. You have to do it for something else. And if you have integrity, right, you're gonna try to meet that goal. So that's holding you accountable in a big way when you stretch that way with the impact goal.
Cool. Well, let's make sure we have time to get through the seven mind mind shifts, and then we'll just chime in as you share these mindsets and these shifts.
Yeah, can I share my screen?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
All right, let's do this here.
And by the way, guys, the slides he's going to share are part of a presentation that he does for real estate agents, and he's already agreed to share a link to these. So I know I'm always going to get people going, hey, can I get those slides? If you're watching this in YouTube, there'll be a link down below. And thank you, Bill, for being willing to share.
Ah, my pleasure. My pleasure, of course. Try to help here. So this is one of my favorite quotes right here. You guys can see my screen?
Yeah, yeah, we got it.
Okay. Michelangelo. And so that's where start thinking about those goals beyond your reach. This Michelangelo quote. The greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we hit it. And as we look back, why don't we hit our goals? Why do we miss? And I always ask that question to the agents, and they'll give the answers. And if you guys want to chime in, but they'll say we settled. I wasn't clear enough. I didn't write it down. It was a New Year's resolution. Like, how ridiculous is it in this society that, what is it? The 15th of the month of January, the second Friday of the month, is National Quitters Day. Like, are you kidding me? And you know where that came from? The gym apps activity go down by the second Friday of the beginning of the year in January. So that's how that got dubbed. And I think that's kind of silly and senseless. So let's not be a national quitter statistic this year. So make sure you set those goals. So here were these were my seven, right? So it started with change the world, change within. And this past year, I always set my goals. And when I set my goals, I always had my top three goals. And during the adversity last year, when I was like, you know what, I know it's not going to be a great year, and I've never really done anything as much as I wanted it to be part of my goals, and it sounded great spiritually, and spiritually doing some spiritual connection with my family became really important. So this past year, I was able to do some pretty cool things with my family and my mom and my sister and my kids. And I took a bunch of spiritual retreats. I saw Joe Dispenza for a week and meditated with him, and went to see Wim Hof out in Poland and climbed Mount Śnieżka, and basically just shorts and a boots and a hat and gloves, and with my son, and didn't get cold, and jumped in cold icy streams, and studied martial arts with the Shaolin monks. Took my mom to holistic healing down in Florida. Like, these things that I wouldn't have done. And what happened was, all of these leaders, Joe Dispenza, the Shaolin monks, Wim Hof, they all said, change the world. We all need to change the world. We all need to be, and Dave, your theme is be the change, right? So I didn't even know this when I presented be the change. But so what came to me was, if we're going to change the world, we have to change within our being first. Like, how can we change the world if we're not going to change as a person? So we have to change within. So that's when I started thinking about the Great World Race, the 7 continents, 7 days, 7 marathons. That was coming to me. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this for the greater good, because I don't really care about running 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents, unless I'm doing it for the greater good and to raise money for Make-A-Wish. Well, and this was created out of the race. So then when I realized that we can do this for the greater good, when we went to Antarctica, and came back on no sleep, and it was freezing, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to continue to run these 6 more marathons and no sleep and sleep deprived. And I think we had, I think my watch said I had a 45-minute nap from Antarctica to the next marathon in Cape Town. So it was, I run into all these people, and in the lobby that are running, it was 52 other runners, and they were all so positive, and they all picked each other up, and I was exhausted, I was tired, and I'm not really a great runner, and we had some elite athletes on this trip, and they were all so encouraging. And so like I think about that, like there's many of us that are top producers, or many of us that want to be top producers, and like as a top producer, it's our job to encourage people that want to get better. And if we want to be a top producer, it's, reach out to the top producers, and top producers, please encourage those that want to get better. So it's the power of the positive herd, and not the doom and gloomers around the water cooler talk that are complaining about the rates and complaining about circle your calendar on May 10th, and waiting for the economics to change, and just keep picking each other up. And, that's how, we created the positive herd. And I want to just segue that into, as we create our goals and as we revisit our monster goals that we're going to have, after we finished that marathon in Cape Town, South Africa, we were on our way to Australia, Perth, Australia. And I remember I wasn't feeling good. I was sleep deprived. And this is only the 3rd marathon that we're heading to. And I was curled up on the plane in a fetal position and having chills, and just what kept coming to my mind was, how am I going to do this? How can I do this? How am I possibly going to get this done? I feel terrible. There's no way. And then I had to shift my mindset, right? So it wasn't about the how to, it was the why to, right? So like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this for Make-A-Wish. I'm doing this for the greater good. And then that became, okay, let's focus on the why, the purpose. Let's go to the tools in the tool belt. And when I just prayed and I journaled and I meditated and I visualized that I would wake up feeling better, and I didn't feel great, but I was still able to get to that 3rd marathon in Perth, Australia. And it became, the why got me through. So if your why is strong enough, and again, that's the goal with the attachment of the greater good or beyond ourselves. If it's strong enough, the how to will always take care of itself. So like, who cares if you have the most pristine blueprint to get to where you want to go? I mean, those typically end up, we typically end up waiting to start those goals or to start that journey. Start anyway. If you have enough passion, start anyways, and the how to will take care of itself, as long as you have that strong enough why to purpose.
Loving it. Hey, actually, pull down the screen real quick. Let's unpack a few of these. So one thing I couldn't help but notice and make a note of is, did you hear at the very beginning when he introduced himself? 17 years at Fairway. And by the way, Fairway team, Steve Jacobson, what's up? What an incredible company. But guys, we are in an industry, and I don't know if the number is 25% of loan officers or 20, but 20 to 25% of loan officers move every year. And I guarantee you, a lot of those loan officers, it's not that they're chasing, well, they are chasing like something better, something different, but what a powerful message to change within. More times than not, it's not changing things externally that are going to change the game for you. It's changing who you are. It's changing, how you're showing up. And guys, it's never too late to change. I mean, I could tell so many stories personally, like last year was the first year where I lost a significant amount of weight. Every year from my 40s, I'd gain like 2, 3, 4 pounds. And a couple decades later, I'm fat and out of shape. I turned it around last year and lost quite a bit of weight. But there's so many ways. So one, I want everyone to really drill down on, let's make 2025 the year that, one, you're going to pick a big why, and maybe a couple big whys. You could have more than one cause that you're about. You can have more than one big why that you're about. I do recommend that the more you can come up with whys that are both impact and income, like it's synergistic to your day job, like you are gonna crush it. Todd, anything you want to call out before we keep going through the 7 shifts?
Well, I'm still stuck in the 7 marathon thing. I did 1 marathon and that was plenty. And so, I mean, I think when all those things that you talked about, right, hiking with Wim Hof and all the incredible journeys that you mentioned, plus this run, plus everything else, I mean, I think it's just a
Plus
mindset shift, right?
$42 million producing manager, like, I
Well, and
mean,
but it talks of your mindset, right? Your commitment to greatness and to learning and expanding. And so I just want everyone to listen to think about the fact that, I mean, Bill has done some things that most of us will never imagine even doing. He's actually imagined them and accomplished it. And I think that you're probably thinking too small, right? I'm thinking to myself that I'm thinking too small as I'm thinking about, what's on my plate that's going to push me in 2025. And there's nothing that's nearly as big as any of those things. Like what's going to make me uncomfortable? That's really my next goal. So Bill, what's your next uncomfortable goal you set for yourself?
Uh, well, I don't know if it's a little uncomfortable. Next week, I'm leaving for Mount Kilimanjaro to climb it with my kids, and I'm a little nervous that they're not preparing. And I'll have to.
Can you please give us your parenting tips on that, where you're not nagging every day of like, you say you want to play in the NFL, yet you're sitting here playing video games. Get out there, go to work,
I still feel like I'm a big failure. They won't even text me back when I say, what gear do you need me to get you?
Oh, that's especially when you see they've read it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I pay for your cell phone. You respond.
Oh, yeah, I stopped using that one. Because then they stopped sharing their location.
Very true. I did want to just point out for January, in case you guys didn't know, it is Financial Awareness Month, and it's also Human Trafficking Prevention Month. So those are two, Financial Awareness Month goes hand in hand with First Home IQ, and even just helping people get out of renting and into home ownership and showing them how to build their net worth. So there's lots of just content things you could create around that, but also getting your community together and maybe hosting like a block party on the weekend and making a fun financial awareness lesson or class, which those of you who are in First Home IQ, I know there's plenty of lessons you guys can literally just plug and play, no pun intended for plug and play, but also Human Trafficking Prevention Month. So if you guys have seen Sound of Freedom, wow, I realized how naive I was to, how big that is, and it pulls on my heartstrings just on that organization. And then last thing I want to say is thank you, Caleb, for sharing and being vulnerable, your impact why in the chat. And for anyone else, if you are willing to share your impact why, we'd love to hear them. So drop it in the chat as well.
yeah, thank you, Caleb. Really, really appreciate that. And a double push +1 on would love to hear more impact stories and whys. Also, I did share a link to the First Home IQ quiz. And at some point, I'll share a link for anyone that wants to become an ambassador and really get behind what we're doing at First Home IQ. I truly believe the mortgage industry can make a massive dent in financial literacy in America. Like, we're running a lot of credit reports. We have a lot of families in our database. And if we leaned into those families and said, hey, what's your home ownership plan for your kids? One, we would create impact. We'd help more kids get into home ownership younger. And that is the wealth gap in America. It is who owns it versus who rents. And it, by the way, it would be income. Like, we do more loans. We'd help realtors sell more homes. So I'll share that link in a minute, but I love that. Todd, anything else you want to ask or say before we give it back to Bill and keep going through the shifts?
Well, I mean, I would just throw it out there and, Financial Awareness Month, my thoughts on that. I just had a finance meeting with all of my kids. We did it on New Year's Eve in the afternoon. And, I've tried for a long time to get them to want to sit down and do it. Now they're all in their 20s, and my brother-in-law was in town. And so he sat through it with his wife and their kid. And so I would just kind of encourage you to be looking at your own personal finances when it comes to Financial Awareness Month. Like, what is it that you need to do? Like, did you actually look at your balance sheet at the end of 2024 2024 to see, okay, you know, what do I have in my personal assets? Where was I compared to 2023? And really just take a sharp look at your own finances, and then get out there and start teaching it. You know, I mean, that's the beauty of it. If you watch the call that Dave and I did with Kristen Messerly on income and impact, we talk about some of the free resources that First Home IQ has that you can use to go out there and teach. And so just think about what you can do first for yourself, and then what you can go out there and share with others.
Yeah, and guys, the link I just put, I just want to showcase this, will take you to this page. You know, be the financial hero your clients need.
Ooh, I
Have
love
a,
that.
yeah, you love that? Um,
Yeah.
and then it's got a quick video that, you know, on our promise, you know, and guys, it's a massive opportunity. I mean, like the average age of first-time home buyers last year was 38. I mean, guys, this is a crisis. I mean, forever, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, it used to be the high 20s. Then it's literally been the low 30s for decades, you know, 31, 32. Last year it was 35. This year is 38. And and a lot of it is just education, you know, and there's a lot of families that can help their kids get into homeownership. The best down payment assistance program are families helping families. So make sure you check out this program. We'd love to have you on this mission and on this journey with us. So, and by the way, I don't know, Deb, did you see this landing page? Kristen and the team dialed in. Like we've really upgraded
So
the
much
land.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Good
Like
job.
everything you need to know. Lots of good content. We had Tim Brahim last time. Shayla Gifford. Anyways, check it out. Um, all right, back to you, Bill.
Yes, sir. All right. So number 4, I'll share here. Let me, oh, that's Antarctica, sorry. But that's a pretty cool shot, right?
Yeah, that is cool.
So just fun facts, because a lot of people ask. Fun facts on Antarctica. The temperature there was, we landed, it was 5 degrees, and the wind chill was -10. So it gets a little chilly, as you can imagine, in Antarctica. The mountains right here kind of protected us on the wind chill. And everything is so pristine and iconic and beautiful there. Like what you bring in, you have to bring off. What's very cool is not cool, but what's interesting is there's no landing. If you see the plane here, there's no runway other than the plowed snow right here to land a plane. So they can't see. So when we left a day early because the pilots rely on being able to see the ice to land the plane. It was pretty interesting. And we had an 8-hour window of open skies, which means cloud cover is really bad, and you have to turn around and go back to Cape Town, South Africa. So we landed the plane, and when you're running, it's like running on you have your sneakers on, running on like a sandy beach, but it's a little slick, right? And so it was the cloud cover came back a little faster, and there was a storm coming in. We would have been stuck there. So they actually started pulling runners off the course with a snowmobile, rounding everybody up, because we had to get out of there to take off to beat the storm that was coming in. So that was a little unnerving. And I mentioned the power of the positive herd. Now I wanted a lot of people, like when I had this event with some agents a couple weeks ago, a lot of people were thinking that they were too old. Like some of the agents were like, I'm 60, I'm 70, I'm too old to be worrying about these big, massive goals. You see the gentleman in the far right, running 7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know how old he is?
More than 60.
81.
Wow.
And he did all the marathons, and they signed up. He was the first to sign up for next year too. So he did all the marathons. And so like anybody that says I'm too old to start something new, you're never too old, right? And I thought I was not a good enough runner to do this. And like up here in the middle picture, these gals, they're all, we got Olympians, we have Olympic trialists. That's Bex Gentry from Peloton. That's Ashley Paulson from iFit. This is Shireen. She's from, she was in 4 Olympics. This gal won it all, Hillary. And then in the back was Team USA, Jenny Simpson. So like, they were picking me up as I'm in, kind of in the back of the pack. And so like, when I say the power of the positive herd, it's really cool when people can pick you up. So if you're a top producer, pick up people that want to get better. And if you're looking to be a top producer, seek out those top producers that will help you get better, because they want to share. People want to share. People are gracious with their time. And I mentioned that it's not about the how to, it's the why to. And so there are no perfect conditions. So when we were in Europe, we ended up changing continents. It's just like everything we prepared for didn't go according to plan. So, I was working with Coach Jonathan on this, and he said, with all your training and all your mindset and everything that you did to visualize this, you out-prepared your future uncertainty. And I love that. Out-prepare your future uncertainty with your training. And so we take a 15-hour flight, we take a 2-hour bus ride, and then we wait for 2 hours to start when we're supposed to start right away. After being sleep deprived, and we changed continents. We're supposed to be in Istanbul, Asia. We went to Istanbul, Europe first. And so like they weren't ready for the course, wasn't ready. So we're just standing around after almost 20 hours of travel to get to our destination on a little sleep. So how I relate that to this business is, how long have we been sitting on our hands waiting for the rates to drop, waiting for inventory to come on the market? Like, there are no perfect conditions. You create your own perfect conditions. I was talking to a loan officer today, and he's like, I'm so frustrated. I'm so miserable. He's like, nothing's coming to me. I said, you have to go get it. And I said, you've been in this 7 years. How many past clients do you call a day? I don't call any. Well, what if you called 5 past clients every single day for a year? What would that do for your business? I'd probably get business from it. He's like, I'm in a rut. I'm in a funk. And so like, the only reason I say call 5 clients days, for about 15 years, I called 5 clients a day, past clients a day, for 15 years, Monday through Friday, basically is what I did. And I just put it on a Google spreadsheet. I mean, Excel spreadsheet. And that just helped me with my business. I just worked my database by just calling people, nothing fancy, and just checking on people and then following up with an email. So something as simple as that. Go to your database. These are fundamentals. Go to try to true. Do not wait for rates to drop. Go get it now. We're at an all-time high in consumer debt. People need to refinance. The divorce rate is over 50%. People need to buy out their spouses, sell their house, and go buy something else. Like, there are opportunities. There's only 93,000 loan officers right now that are in the business. And 5 years ago, there was 420,000. So why are we waiting for our conditions to change when we can make our conditions change if we go and get it? I'll stop sharing.
Well, I think that's a good reminder, right? I mean, calls right now are so important. And I think that everybody struggles with, the call reluctance piece and what to say. And I think everyone thinks it's really easy to call someone when rates have dropped to tell them you're going to save money. And we talk about it consistently in this group that we've got to make those calls. So if you're checking in with someone, Bill, this week, here we are, it's 2025 that you haven't talked to in a while, and you're kind of feel uncomfortable calling them. What's that script like that you're going to use?
I mean, I haven't talked to you. How about this? Forgive me. It's been a couple years since I've called you. Like, we can do the dance. We can go way back. Like, forgive me. I'm so sorry. I haven't stayed in touch with you. I know that, you have a 3% interest rate, but I just wanted to check in. We had a great transaction for you when we put you in your home. You were first-time home buyers. You were a growing family. Just wanted to see if you've outgrown your house, how things are going. And, more often than not, sometimes that story turns into, I'm so glad you called. I've been meaning to call you because I would have went somewhere else. And I haven't heard from you in a while. As a matter of fact, we are outgrowing the house. We are going to look soon and this spring or whatever. And so let's start the pre-approval process or whatever. Or it could be, me and my wife aren't doing too good. I think we're getting divorced. And, and then I'm glad you called because I've been reluctant to call you. Like whatever the case may be, and a lot of times it's like, I'm doing good, Bill. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate it. Or you won't get a response. But like, those will lead to deals down the road. And if you weren't the one that called them, the shopping goes to them, right? So when they may get your quarterly mailers or newsletters or email blasts or whatever, but like there's so much shopping going to the individual that they may not be meaning to be unloyal, but when the shopping goes to them and Rocket Mortgage or whoever reaches out to them and they just were like, hey, refinance now, quick and easy, fast approval, get rid of your debt. And they apply. Like how many clients do we lose because the shopping went to them? And if we were in touch with them, maybe they would have called us back. We just increase our likelihood of success there.
So Todd, what are some of the best exactly what to say scripts and some of the things that you teach in the training that you and Deb do, the workshops you guys do?
You want us to give away all our secrets ahead of Orange County? Just kidding.
Just give us a little something, man.
Dave's trying to do a quick tutorial before the end of the month whenever he shows up so he can know the scripts, Todd. You know how competitive Dave is.
Well, you know what? It's going to be a gift to have Dave in the room here at the end of January for the live 2-day certification. It's always what I found at the last summer when I was doing annual mortgage reviews. And again, I always tell you all I want to get on here and talk from experience, not from what I did 10 years ago when Dave interviewed me before, we had this Friday mastermind around my annual mortgage review process is what's working, now. And you've all heard me say that I send everyone, when I was doing transactions during COVID, I would send them my contact card. It said Todd Mortgage Guy Bookspan, totally separate phone number, right? Todd's personal phone, Todd's mortgage phone, right? So I can leave my life behind and not have to worry about that. But I thought it was going to be enough when I called people that they would just pick up the phone because it said Todd Mortgage Guy calling. And what I found is that not as many people picked up the phone as I wanted. So what I did was actually send a text ahead of time, asking for the time to meet. And so for those, it kind of depended on the conversation, but I did use Phil Jones, exactly what to say to get that going. People I hadn't talked to in a really long time. Some of it was, would you be open-minded to a conversation? Hey, would you be open-minded to have a quick catch up this afternoon or tomorrow? Again, I was pretty definitive on what the time looked like. I've also used that actually in heading into 2025 with some real estate agents that, just hadn't sent my team business last year that we kind of lost touch with, to say, hey, are you open-minded to, having a business conversation as we head into next year? And then, also use could it be possible to jump on a call today or tomorrow to catch up, ? And what I found was by pre-setting it all up with a text, it just made it a whole lot smoother. Then if I called them, even if they didn't respond to my text, they were more likely to pick it up. So those would be a couple of my strategies. Deb, you have any that you would add to that?
Well, I was just going to say this is a lot easier to pick up the phone and have conversations when you have either something you can invite them to. So Todd, I know you're doing your free 10-week financial literacy series at any of your clients that have kids and it's the start of the year. That's a really easy phone call to not make it feel like you're only calling to see if there's an opportunity for you, which is very self-serving. But so whether you're hosting a class, which I do believe in setting up your perfect month, we should be hosting, there's 3 different types of classes I recommend that loan officers host every month. But then also even just first home IQ. So if you have your assessment link, then perhaps you're getting on the phone and you're making calls again to those who have kids. And maybe your goal is to get, 10 of those completed by the end of this first month. Well, again, that's an easy call and that's a purpose-driven, impact-driven why that will help also that family that you're reaching out to, but also it gives you an excuse to kind of warm up that relationship that you have maybe neglected for a couple of years and maybe nervous about, making that first contact simply because maybe you promised them you would stay in touch and then you hadn't. So set yourself up for success and make it repeatable. So I'm all about the repeatable systems. which is why I love hosting classes. I think hosting classes is an easy way to contact agents or clients in your database.
Love it. So you guys got some, everyone listen to this, you got some big picture idea, you've got some life-changing shifts, you got some scripts. So, I mean, we got 10 minutes left, and man, I don't know about you, but I feel like this has been a really valuable call. Please use the reactions in chat. Let us know what you think so far. Also, I want to remind folks, we talked about it last week, but Todd and Deb are going to be doing a workshop in Orange County the last 2 days of this month. I'm personally attending it. It's going to be a small group. I know we've already had some pretty big time people sign up for that. So it's not only going to be a great 2 day workshop, but Todd, who all has signed up for that workshop so far?
Well, Dave, come on, you're our headliner. I mean, it's we had to host it in your hometown to twist your arm to get you to swipe the credit card to show up. Really excited. JJ Mazzo and his wife are going to be there. Sounds like Sean Herrero's coming. Maybe we're gonna have Amir Syed there. So we've got a pretty good list of folks who are going to come, as well as maybe some of you. I should take a peek and see who's on the. I didn't
Well,
see who was all
there's a
here
link
tonight.
down below. Check it out. I think it's 20-ish people, 2 day, all about scripting. So check it out. And if you're local, like, get there. I had a walk and talk this morning with Joe Soto. Hopefully he'll be coming. So Bill, with 10 minutes left to go in the call, and you know what you're sharing, you know the message, you know what should we close out with? Think about this as like the fourth quarter. Which of these strategies do we want to make sure we get to everyone? And by the way, Todd put a link to the code, everyone, a $500 discount and you got the link. So anyways.
Very nice. Yeah, just real quick on the teaching classes, and Deb, I know you're a big believer in that. Personally, like the one-to-one, and listen, I know so many top producers that want to do the coffees and they want to do the lunches and they want to just do the one-to-ones. I like to do one-to-many, and the only way I was going to stay in this business is if I could figure out a way to cast that net super wide. And then if I cast the net super wide and teach classes, if I have 25 to 35 or 40 people in each class once a month, then I could focus on my 7 or 8 that I want to really work with. And that nice wide net went far. So I 100%, there's so many ways to be successful in this business, and whatever works for you. If you're a one-to-one coffee guy or gal, then do it. But like personally for me, it just never worked. And so like there's so many ways to just find success, just as long as it aligns with your values. I mean, go for it. So to take it home, there's a couple more principles here. I'll just show them, and I'll just touch upon them real quick so we can let's see here. Pivoting, never quitting, right? So a lot of times when things are hard, and we are setting hard goals, right? We said that monster goal in the beginning. We're going to set this real hard goal. It's going to be beyond ourselves. Like, what happens when it gets really hard and that self-doubt creeps in? We start to weaken our why. Like, we start to soften it, and we start to let that doubt talk us out of continuing to move forward. And that's why we give up. That's why we don't achieve some of the things that we really want badly enough, because we let our inner, and you know this as Jonathan would say, our inner dialogue, but our self-talk talks us out of what we want. So we need to go to that tool belt and make sure that we keep our why nice and strong. And for me, like during this race, I mean, like I went to the gratitude card, I went to the Make-A-Wish kids fighting for through their critical illness. I went through my accountability partners. I looked at some of the races. I looked at Dan, 81 years old. I looked at someone with 2 people with cancer doing this race, and they were still going. I looked at 2 guys with 1 lung that were doing this race, and I was like, what's my excuse not to put one foot in front of the other? So let's keep going to that tool belt, the visualization, the letters, like encouragement. When you pick somebody up, it goes a long way. So we pivot, never quit. Like you can find you know, if A, B, or C is not working, go to D, E, and F in the solution. There's always a way to get something done. If you want production badly enough, you know, you got to keep pivoting and never quit. Don't soften your why and make that excuse that it's okay. And you know, respect the opponent and the arena and the conditions. You know, respect who you're up against. Respect, you know, the other producers. And you know, how I came up with respect the opponent is when we went from Antarctica down to Cartagena, South America. The difference in temperature, Antarctica was -10. South America with the heat index was 110. So the body was not happy with what was going on there. And so when I say respect your conditions, like I almost, you know, I almost passed out. We had 3 hospitalizations because of the heat down there. And you know, one of our runners was a world-class athlete, and he had world records, right? But he was not, he trained in Ireland, never been out of Ireland, won the Dublin marathons, but he never trained in this heat. So he came out of the gate hot, really hot, and he overheated and he couldn't get his body temperature down enough, and he had to give up the last marathon. He would have set every world record if he finished this race and the one after it. So when I say respect your arena, respect your opponent, respect your conditions, you know, respect, like understand what you're getting into, research and train for it. So like if you're up against another lender, if you're up against another person, like understand who you're up against, understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, understand, like, you know, maybe Google review them, or whatever you need to do. Understand everything you need to know, and don't disrespect them to the client. I see so many people like, oh, they're bad, they're terrible, they're not very honest, or they're unscrupulous or whatever. And you don't win people over by bad mouthing somebody. So you have to respect, you know, agents, the same thing. You know, if you feel like someone's inferior to you and you go approach it that way, you're going to lose. So kind of like, don't disrespect Mother Nature. Don't disrespect people that you're up against, because like I said, the advertisement and the shopping is going to them. Understand that, and everything, you know, when you go after it. This ice bucket right here saved me from passing out, and this was in South America. This saved me because I thought I was going down, and then I started creating a mantra along the way. I said, heat humidity equals humility. Like this goofy thing I was talking to myself, and I was just, I don't know if I can play this video.
That's quarter mile here.
If you can see that. Yeah, see that? Hear
We're
it?
gonna break 6 hours. The hardest 6 hours that you've ever done. The heat, humidity, it goes to 90. Very hot and humid. Equals humility. Heat, humidity, humility. Wow. Let's get this done. Let's try to go. Finish strong. Under 6 hours. I see. Here we go.
And I went down.
Boom.
No, I didn't go down. I felt like I was going down. I might have gone down, but like, so like you have, like when it's really that, like that 6 hours, like marathons, you know, I'm not fast really, honestly, like, but I could do a marathon in under 4 occasionally. And that 6 hours was the hardest 6 hours I've ever done in my life. And it was because of the conditions. So the thing that saved me was the you know, just cooling down. And so I pivoted. I didn't quit, but you know, I was really nervous about that. And I know we're kind of running out of time.
Yeah. Well, first of all, before we lose Todd, give us the win by noon close, and then I'll wrap it up.
Well, you know, I'm just blown away, right? I just have so much respect for the commitment that you've made to push yourself. I wrote down and starred uncomfortable goals. I think that that's really what you all need to look at. Bill opened us up talking about how many did not survive. So first off, give yourself a pat on the back. You're still in this business. And so the goal now is to go from survive to thrive, right? Push through this ceiling of complexity that we've had. And so I just think it's a matter of looking at your priorities. What is it you need to do to put yourself to be uncomfortable? Is that maybe some calls you need to make, some rooms you need to put yourself in, some events you need to attend? But what can you do to up your game? And so I'm going to be looking for some uncomfortable rooms for myself, and get excited for 2025. So Bill, it's good seeing you. Appreciate y'all, and I got to jump.
All right. Here's my closing thought, guys. I'm going to share another slide, and then Deb, if you can, completely wrap it up. Anything closing thoughts you have? But this is one of his slides, and I love this slide. I've seen this quote before. I say this quote to myself sometimes, but all-time great Jim Rohn. We must all suffer from one of two pains: the pain of discipline, like today, or the pain of regret. And guys, it is 2025. The change that's taking place in the mortgage industry, it's accelerating. Status quo is not the way forward. There are best practices that need to be adopted, and the loan officers that are the most successful, they're doing these best practices. And many of those best practices require adopting technology and learning new ways of doing things. The superpower of 2025 will be unlearning some old ways of doing things, relearning and learning new ways of doing things that create optimized value for consumers. Like, this is a year of change. I think, Bill, I got a lot of inspiration personally from your story and from your strategies. Appreciate you, brother. Deborah, anything you want to wrap us up with?
Just to hit on number one, change the world, change within. So what's something that you could reflect on, maybe take this weekend, that, starting with yourself, what could you change? And for me, something I've been working on is believing in either, a fear or having faith. Both require you to believe in something you can't see, but the choice is yours. Are you going to choose to have faith or live in fear? And so perhaps it's dissecting what limiting beliefs that you're choosing to still hold on to, and imagine a world that if you let those go, what could your 2025 look like? So
love that. And guys, if you got value from this, we put a link, thebillmurphy.com. Go check out his website. This is a man who's producing manager. You can see he wants to create impact at scale. So he's keynote speaker. He's an author. Check out his book, Surviving the Storm. Impact and income. He's creating impact. I guarantee this is making him more valuable to the realtors he serves, which has been his day job up till now. And it looks like he's going to generate some income as a keynote speaker and trainer. So congratulations on everything that you've accomplished, Bill. It's really great meeting with you. I know why Jonathan introduced us. Hopefully, we'd love to get you part of your why to be the first Home IQ why. So looking forward to keeping that conversation going, brother. And thank you for leaning into this community and bringing all this value today.
It was an honor. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right, everybody. This is a wrap. Have a great weekend. The new year has started, so game on. But let's face it, Monday is officially, we're out of this vacation land. And I hope you guys come into Monday rested, very clear, and it's game time, guys. Let's have a big year. Cheers to thriving in 25. Take care.